Here today with Coach Matt Nally of the Melissa Cardinals. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Now, one of the things we're trying to do in these interviews is kind of emphasize almost how nomadic a coach's life can be. So, if you don't mind, take us through your coaching history from your first assistant's job till now.
Well, honestly, I've been fortunate. I have been doing this job for 20 years, and I've only been at three different schools. So, but yeah, I started my coaching career out at a small school um, south of Palestine, Texas, called Cayuga High School. And when I was at Cayuga, I was a 22-year-old punk kid that thought he knew everything and whatnot. And my first year, I coached the defensive ends and the running backs. And I also was the JV coach. And then I went from that to coaching the quarterbacks and still DB. And this is back in the day, Coach, when, Coach, we had to mow the grass, we had to stripe the fields, all those things, which was fantastic. I loved every minute of it, honestly. You're mopping the floors and all that stuff. And so I had some different positions there at KU. I was there for 3 years, and we had a lot of really good players that went through there, and it was a lot of fun. I was there with Coach Glenn Gowen for 3 years, and then I left. My wife got pregnant, and we went back home to Frankston, Texas, and I was in Frankston, Texas for 9 years. And when I was in Frankston, I served in different capacities. It's just as a position coach, coached the running backs, and then I coached the quarterbacks, and then I coached the secondary. And I served for a very short time as a defensive coordinator there. And then I got my first offensive coordinator job under Coach Sam Wells, who is the AD head football coach at Troop now. And so I was his OC for 4 years. And he then took the Elkhart job, and I got the head football job at Frankston. So I was the head football coach, but I also was the assistant principal and the athletic director. So I was wearing a bunch of hats at that time. And at that time, my wife had just had our third son, and I was kind of in a situation where I needed to make a decision what I was going to do with my career, just because of the fact I was at that point in time, I was coaching football, basketball, baseball, and track, and I was the AD and all these other things. So if I was going to go into admin or if I was going to stay with this football thing, so coaching thing. So, and I just loved coaching, and it was just something I wanted to do. And my superintendent from Frankston left Frankston and went to Melissa, and he got me hooked up with Seth Stinton, who is just an amazing guy. And I really just bought into his program and bought into what his vision was for athletics. So I had the opportunity to come to Melissa, and I've now been in Melissa. Next year will be my 8th year in Melissa. So it's just been an awesome opportunity. I got to be the OC for a few years before I took over as the head football coach. And like I said, it's just been a great opportunity, and I've learned from a lot of great people along the way.
Now, you talked about the flexibility of being a young coach, and I occasionally see postings, but sometimes when you're hiring an assistant coach, you don't have the whole field to pick from, because it has to be someone that can do 2 specific sports and be a science teacher.
Right.
So as a student looking to become a coach, it's important to get as many certifications and get them in areas that aren't PE or social studies to have some flexibility on what your options be. Talk a little bit about the flexibility needed.
So, as a coach, the first thing that I learned from my first AD head football coach was Glenn Gowen, and he said something to me that is profound. So when he interviewed me and gave me the job, he said, I need to sit down with your wife by herself, because that's a relationship thing that a lot of people don't understand, the coaching life. And when he sat down with my wife by herself and he described to her, this is what a coach is. This is what the support that he's going to need, but also you need to understand that you still deserve support as well. Sometimes as coaches, we get caught up in whatever season's going on or whatever the situation is. And we tend to take a step back and forget about our families, and forget about our wives, especially. They got the hardest job in coaching, more than anybody else, is a coach's wife. So being educated in that sense. And then also when it comes to the teaching field of it, everyone has a passion. Like, when I got into this, my passion was science, and not all the schools that you want to go to have a science opening. So the biggest thing for me is you always want to be educated. You always want to have a plethora of things. But I tell every coach that comes to me and says, or every potential kid that's wanting to be a coach and whatnot, and they ask about teaching fields, I always talk about the golden ticket, Willy Wonka's golden ticket. And you want to hold the golden ticket. And in our profession, the golden ticket is being special ed certified. Any type of composite that you can get, science, social studies, or whatever the case may be, and a math certification. You want those golden tickets in our profession. But like I said, you want to be passionate, and you want to have something that is going to be something that's in your interest. But at the end of the day, you can do those things, but within that spectrum. So it's all about building relationships with kids, and it's all about having an opportunity because we do have the greatest job ever, and that is we're molding the future. So whatever capacity that you could potentially get into, just to get your foot in the door, it might be out of your passion for a little bit. But once you get your foot in the door and you're moving towards a positive direction, you can always go get your passion certificate. But I tell every kid that says, hey, I want to be a coach, hey, man, go get one of those golden tickets first, before you potentially go into, your PE or whatever the case may be.
All right. Now, you talked about the advice and the mentoring you got from Coach Goins, and you touched a little bit upon it. But one of your roles there is to do that same thing with the coaches that are on your staff there. You're a mentor for those guys. So talk a little bit about that role and the advice you give to coaches.
Yeah, so I tell every coach that is interviewing for a job with us, and every coach on our staff understands this. It's my job to help you become a coordinator and to help you become a head coach. That's my job. And the way that I'm going to do that is A, by modeling, but B, like we do things here in Melissa, like we do what we call offensive and defensive coordinator school. So, we come in and our position coaches come in and we talk about different ways that can help you be successful when you become a coordinator. And we do the same thing as head coaches. So, I'll have position coaches and coordinators, and then other assistant coaches in other sports. They come and I give a little school per se on what it means to really be a head coach, and what that role looks like. Because at the end of the day, if you really think about it, if a guy leaves Melissa and becomes a head coach somewhere else, that looks good for Melissa. And that's what we're trying to do. And not just that, like, I just feel like everybody needs a little guidance when it comes to their ambition. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the means, but I've been in the fire a little bit, so I have a little bit of experience that I can share. So that's what we do. We call it coordinator school and head coaching academy, and just allowing people to ask questions about what it looks like and what it feels like and what the chair is like. But at the end of the day, that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that my assistants enjoy the environment they're in, and when they have that opportunity, they need to take it, but helping them be successful as well. You don't want anyone to fail. I tell my guys, I want them to, to interview for, if they're a position coach, I want them to interview for 2 coordinator jobs a year. If they're a coordinator, I want them to interview for 2 head coaching jobs a year. I just think that, you don't want to interview for the job that you really, really want, and that be your first interview. You want to have that opportunity before you jump into that. So, and we've got some really, really great people, but when you base it on, and what we try to base it on here is you base it on building a relationship with coaches and kids, man, it makes it really simple. People talk about culture and things like that. And I can talk to you about culture all day long, but really the foundational piece is, have you built a relationship with the people that you're working with every day and those kids that are grounded for you every day? So that's kind of what we do here at Melissa to grow our coaches.
All right. Now let's talk about a little bit about the Cardinals on the field for 2022. So you're moving into 5AD2. So you're going to be in a district with Crandall, Denison, Greenville, Lovejoy, Petit, Princeton, Carroll. Talk a little bit about that move, what that looks like for the Cardinals, and what the Cardinals are going to look like on the field.
Obviously, it's a great opportunity. We look at everything as a challenge and an opportunity to get better. So this is going to do nothing but help us in life, in the regards of, we're dealing with something that's new and challenging. So it's going to help our kids pursue the best version of themselves daily. We're going to be, last year we were so young. I mean, we started 2 freshmen and a slew of sophomores on our team. So I was really excited about that group and what they accomplished. Now all those kids are back, and they're a year older. So we're going to be more experienced in that regard. But our strength will probably be our box on defense and our offensive line. We have 2 offensive linemen that are national recruits. I have 2 defensive linemen that are national recruits. I got a national linebacker. So we have talent in the box, in the trenches, on both sides. So that's probably going to be our strength. We did graduate our quarterback, and we're having to work in a new queue. But they're all, we're in a little bit of a quarterback battle right now, but those guys are all picking it up and, playing extremely well right now in spring ball. So it'll be a fun competition as we move towards the fall. But I expect us to pick up where we left off. I don't expect there to be a hiccup at all. Here in Melissa, we expect to be the best, and we're going to pursue excellence. So I expect us to push for the district championship. I expect us to push for the regional championship, and I expect us to push for the state championship.
Now you mentioned spring ball, and the move from 4AD1 to 5AD2 might just be a few kids, but it also brings with it some changes like that, where at the 4A level, you don't have spring ball, you have 2 scrimmages in the fall. What's your look on that so far, as far as playing the extra practice time in the spring in a spring game and giving up 1 scrimmage in the fall? What do you think about that so far?
Yeah, so I think it's amazing. My experience with it thus far has been amazing, and we have goals that we want to set for spring practice and what we're trying to accomplish. We want to, our first goal is accountability and discipline, and that's something that I believe that you can do in fall camp. But fall camp it's like you're moving so quick to get to that first scrimmage. And here, when you get to do spring ball, it's more about you and those small details, and you're getting to walk through those things. So I think that's the biggest piece that we've taken from spring ball. And then depth. We get a really good opportunity to build depth, see our depth, and see our weaknesses early on, rather than when you get into fall camp, you're kind of starting to try to fix things quickly. But you get to see those things in spring, and then when you get to you get to your summer skills and things like that. But it's been invaluable for us. Just this is our first week, and it's been invaluable already to see what we need to work on and whatnot in our depth that we're going to potentially have.
All right. One more question before I let you go. What's one thing about Coach Nally that most people don't know?
I would say probably I'm a Swiftie. I like Taylor Swift. I would say that's probably something that people don't know about me. I'm gonna get made fun of a lot about it. That people know that. I think the only person that really knows that is my wife, maybe my kiddos. But yeah, man, I like Taylor Swift. Man, I jam Taylor Swift. That Nickelback, I jam that quite a lot.
You got me a little bit with the Nickelback one. Taylor Swift, I can get on board. All right, Coach. Well, thanks a lot for your time today, and best of luck with the upcoming season.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.